it's pretty close now. Like it feels like the appointment feels like it was a while ago now. But as you're getting closer, does it feel like the sands are ticking a bit faster through the old time glass at the moment?
Yeah, it does. The AFL season launched last night, and all the add-ons, the extras, the extra photo shoot or here and there, the things you don't do as an assistant coach. Yeah, it feels close.
And but at this stage, you haven't had the abuse. You haven't had the questioning of why didn't you do this and all those types of things. Has it been a good little honeymoon period? Do you feel like now we're on the eve of the season that you accomplished what you needed to accomplish?
Yeah, you're right. There's definitely a probation period, if you like. You said you're on probation.
We're on probation.
Yeah, I think, no doubt that we've had 4 months of a pre-season where you're trying to change a lot of things and implement new game plans and form a new culture amongst what we're doing. So there is a honeymoon period, no doubting that.
How do you, at the end of, if you can control how this football team under you is seen by the broader football community, if you can have us say Collingwood is this under and has been this under Craig McRae, what would you like us to be saying about your footy team?
Yeah, I'd love our supporters to watch us every week and just be proud of our effort. Like have continuous fight in what we do, and we're in every contest, even if the scoreboard's against us, we just keep coming, and we're trying to form that within what we're doing at training and constantly reward that. Probably overarching, I'd love our supporters to see that every week.
So how much of that is embedded in the DNA of the players you bring to your footy club?
Well, most of the guys that originally were there before we started, but we started something. It's a new journey, a new era, if you like, and that fight element of our when you put the jumper on, that's something we're really going to take great pride in.
Well, the fight element we're talking about,
not fisticuffs.
No, of course not.
No.
The intensity at which you play it, but it can be seen in different ways, and some of that is not just about how hard we're going to tackle and how aggressive we're going to do things, depending on the strategy. And strategically, how will that be reflected? Is it in the way in which the ball's going to be moving? Is it the way in which you might be in and under? What are those characteristics that you're looking at?
Yeah, it's a great question. I think.
Can you not say that to him ever again, please?
It's a very good question.
In fact, don't even say good question. Just say interesting one, Keith. If you can just say that to me.
Question, yeah. No, I think I've been on record saying that last year Collingwood were 18th in the competition for inside 50s, and we don't want to be that. We're aiming to be top 8 in that area. So we've had to go forward more and kick to more contests and be more of a territory team. So that's definitely be a strategic focus and going forward.
Do you feel like that's because that's great and that's what we want to see? But it feels like there's about 17 other teams in the comp who are saying the same thing. Do you feel like that is at the moment that's the kind of MO that a lot of clubs are saying they want to bring to their performances this season?
Of course, everyone wants to score more, but there's a cost. Like defensively, Collingwood were really strong the last few years, and we want to hold on to that. But you've got to give up something too. So if you bring all your numbers back, you're going to be hard to score against. But then you can't go forward, or you've got to have a good method to get forward. So we're trying to get a balance of both. I think every team's trying to do that.
Strategically, when you're making these decisions, how do you see your role? Are you more managerial and you're taking the advice and listening to the assistants, or are you setting the tone and having them decipher the information? What's your style?
Geez, he's on fire today. Another great question, isn't it?
Stop saying that. We've got a leaderboard. Just so you know, we've got a leaderboard out here. And
been there, done that, Keith. Because the reason I ask, if I reflected back on my time, when my first initiation into being the head coach, I think I did not delegate well.
Really?
That's absolutely.
Yeah,
and
right.
that's why I asked that question to see how others deal with this.
Yeah, well, lucky enough, when I got the job, they said, put a team together. And there's some great people already there. Hayden Skipworth and Scott Selder are there already and in place, and same with the development coaches. But we had this luxury of saying, hey, okay, how do we want to play? Because I presented it to the subcommittee, saying, hey, look, I'm not sold on how I want to play. I have a few ideas, and territory was one of them, and having great fight and competitive instincts is another. But how do we want to play? So we're going to get Justin Leprich and Brendan Bolton and all of us in this room for a whole week and saying, all right, let's go to town and work out what that looks like. That's quite unique, I would have thought.
And how do you go about what's going to be your style with the players? Are you I need to take these guys out to lunch every week, I've got to build that personal bond? Or are you the guy that sort of sits back? I'm going to keep that separation. So if other issues pop up, I've got that separation. Where do you see, and what has been your goal in building the relationship and the types of relationships you want with the players?
Yeah, I'm always a relationship first person. It's just probably the person I am. I like to connect with people and then form a relationship and then be able to have really tough conversations or honest, authentic ones. So that's always been my style. It's a bit more difficult when you've got 80 people in the staff and the footy club to do that with. But I like the little drive-by, conversations or the text at night just saying appreciate you or missing you if you're away sick. Those little things I think go a long way. But it takes time to build a lot of trust.
Was Leigh one of those?
Leigh was nothing like that. The complete opposite.
I reckon he was more the
Leigh.
separate sort of guy, which is they're different styles. There's not necessarily a right or wrong. And you've been very fortunate to be around some of the greats. I just was writing them down. And there was Leigh Matthews, Clarko for a period of time, Mick, Bucks, and Damien Hart. Is there one of those guys that stands out that has had the most influence, and what would have been that? What influence have they had on you?
Yeah, Leigh's the one. Like he rang me the other day, funnily enough, and I just I can't believe how lucky I was to have Leigh as a player. All the things he did for us as a team, but then all the lessons. I was mature at the end when Leigh came into our environment. So I sort of almost like just give me more approach to it. So everything he said, I just was almost writing down as mental notes for who knows where it was going to go. But he's the biggest influence, I think, on my coaching.
Has there been your journey to here has been multi-layered, and you've been in some outstanding organisations, as you said, with some pretty influential people. Has there been one part of the journey to here that's been the most significant, do you think, that's led you to being a senior coach at AFL level?
Yeah, I think going to Richmond and then Dimmer and Tim Livingston give me an opportunity to coach the VFL. So you got your own program and develop that, and work that towards success with the AFL. That was significant. Funnily enough, I joined the Melbourne Storm in a very part-time role, just doing the kicking and catching for about 6 years in there. But it was half an hour, maybe a week, maybe a fortnight, a month. Maybe what this might work out to be. Who knows
No.
But what it did for me, yes, had success and failures as a player. Then you have success and failures as a coach. But the success always looked the same. And when I went to the Storm, it looked the same. It smelt the same. The language or the culture and all the things that equate to being successful were there. They've repeated itself. So that was almost affirmation for me. What it takes to be successful.
Right. And you've gone. You would have gone through the scout of all the teams and how they play and who of the other teams, and there might be a group of them, who presents the most difficult challenge
to play against?
Yes.
Oh, it's clearly Melbourne and the Bulldogs at the moment, isn't it? Like that, they're the two obvious. I was only the season launched last night and watching highlights of Melbourne. The ability to kick those goals in the grand final, 7 or 8 in a row within no time at all. Like that momentum you can't shift. And, if that's a reflection of their confidence in what they're doing, they're going to be hard to stop again.
Take us through, you get the job and you're there, but, you've been there and you were there with Bucks, I think, and were you there with Mick?
Yeah, I started with Mick in 2011.
And I assume that you're used to going in, and there's Bucks's desk, and there is.
I know where you're going with this.
When you're going in there, what was that feeling like? Did you say, "Listen, I need to have a different. I can't be in that particular office."
Are you asking whether it was the same desk? Is that what you're saying?
Well, whether or not you want to be in that same desk.
Well, the last time I was at Collingwood, I sat in Bucks's office on his couch, and he told me I was no longer needed. Is that what you're going?
That's what I was trying to. And going back in there, did that, how did that?
I laugh at it, the irony of it all. Like, I'm really grateful for my time at Collingwood, and like everything, it comes to an end through, they were going in a different direction with their head of development. But without that minute or that opportunity, I don't get to Richmond, and then don't get all the learnings and the success that happened there, and then get an opportunity to come back. But I did happen to. Text Bucks and say I'm sitting in the seat that he sacked me in.
And was it all still there? The fridge in the corner and the couch over there?
Yeah, had a 6-pack in the fridge. I had one just and just thanked him for it. I own a beer, but no, I've got a good relationship with Bucks. I feel comfortable to do that. And I learned so much off him in that time I was at Collingwood. So.
We're touching on having a laugh about Brad Scott and umpires and the behaviour towards them. We know the AFL is making a really strong statement about that early throughout the pre-season, and it's going to be a focal point throughout the season. Were we getting into a dangerous territory in footy, do you think? If the league didn't do something now about the interaction between player, crowd and our umpires, were we getting into dicey territory?
It's difficult to answer that question other than what Gil's saying, that there's a shortage of umpires coming into the industry. Like, if that's reality, then we need to do something about it. I think, respect. I think they're an easy target, aren't they? Really, we got the crowd, and you boo everything that they do or don't do, and very difficult for them to have a good day. From our perspective, anyone looking at the game going, you don't go there and say the umpires, they were great today. Look, I'd like to just think we got to respect the game and for what it is, and the grassroots part of that. But difficult job to do.
Do you say something to your player?
We did.
Yep.
Yeah, we did. And Darcy Moore was really animated about it. We showed footage of the first Amy Series game when there was a significant amount of free kicks against Melbourne, and whether that's some of those were a little bit teething problems because what happens when there's a new interpretation comes in. But Darcy was really animated about, hey, look, we've got a bigger picture here to be able to respect what the umpires are doing and respect what they do. This pre-season in particular, we've had them out to training a lot.
Yep.
And that relationship building, I think, can go a long way.
Absolutely.
And what about some of your players, in particular the young Daicos kid? He looks like a beauty, but he's coming with enormous expectations. It's off the charts, the way in which people, I think, certainly the feedback that we've had, that the Collingwood faithful are up and about.
He hasn't played a game yet, Gazy.
But they've seen enough of him at the other levels to know that this kid could be something very, very special. And it seems like you're almost answering the question before I get it out. Are you trying to manage the expectations, or do you just let him do his thing? And how do you deal with the both on and off the field stuff with him?
Well, we can't control expectation, but what we can control is he's played 7 or 8 games, I think, in 2 years. And there's going to be a cost from COVID for our grassroots or the development of players. That the pathway has been really compromised. So players coming in haven't played. If you've been in South Australia and West Australia, that's different. But Victoria, particularly, they just haven't played, these kids. So they're coming in underdeveloped, or the fundamentals of the game are underdeveloped, but also bodies. Their bodies haven't been conditioned to playing. So we're really conscious of that. And Nick's part of, we've got 20 players under 21. So our core of our list are in that development phase. We've got to really look after them. And Nick's just one of those guys we've got to be conscious.
Yeah, but does he think that he's not ready to play 22 games this season?
No, and like, look, I use it in an analogy for, like, I love horse racing. 2-year-old horses, they don't all race. And some will race for a bit of a spell, and then others will racing, for maybe the whole of the carnivals and things like that. So we've got to look after them.
And can I ask one, this is selfishly, but a kid that I've had a bit to do with from a basketball standpoint in Tommy Wilson. Where's he in the depth chart that you have? Is he likely to get a little bit more exposure this season?
I've been really impressed with Tom. He's such a professional. To come from one sport to another is obviously difficult. He shows that he's got a terrific footy brain. He sees the game well, and he's right in that middle age of our list that we don't have too many players around that. So we need guys like Tom to really come on this year, and hopefully he gets opportunities to show that.
Nev Jetta wins the Phil Walsh Memorial Scholarship. We know from his time at Melbourne how revered and loved he is by that cohort, and you're getting to know him now. Do you understand now why he was so highly regarded at Melbourne?
Yeah, absolutely. Like I had Graham Wright and I, we interviewed him via Zoom because he was in Perth with Melbourne going through the finals campaign, and I left the Zoom feeling like, wow, what a character, what a man. Like, we've got to get this guy to our football club to influence our young players. And, that was only 30 minutes. And then he came into our environment after his, the stuff with Melbourne, and he just continues to just impress.
Right.
Not often have I seen a person come in, a coach come in and want to be front and centre and be prepared to talk in big meetings or match committees. That very much reserved. My experiences have been that over the journey. And he's prepared to share, but not over the top. But his ability to connect and build relationship has been amazing to watch. And I don't want to put too much on him, but I think he's capable of being a real serious coach in this competition. And again, I think he's capable of being a senior.
Yeah, I was going to
coach.
say, I wonder how serious. Yeah,
and look, and then being Indigenous, there hasn't been an Indigenous coach to aspire to. We've got many players throughout the competition who go, I want to be like Andrew McLeod or Shea Bolton now. But to have someone to aspire to be like. Xavier Clark is at Richmond, an outstanding young man and great coach.
Yeah.
To be able to aspire to be an AFL coach, I think that's a great thing as well.
And you see that. You see the obvious importance of him. And whoever that person is, you see the obvious importance of having somebody in that role.
Oh, like I just see Neville just as a person. I just see Neville's ability to lead and then also be able to command the room. He's got some real aura about him.
Yeah,
And I'd imagine someone else would have an aura about him is your captain, Scott Pendlebury. He's, I think a while
Played
ago.
basketball, I don't know whether you're aware of that.
I was aware of that.
Yeah.
But I think a while ago there was something, it might have been a throwaway line, and I don't know how serious it was, but I think he was talking about, well, maybe, this could be his last season. He looks like he's in great shape. How has he been to deal with? Because I assume you've got to have a somewhat different relationship, a special relationship with your captain? Yeah,
you do. And, I'm building that. I was there for 5 years with Pendles and he was captain then. And just watching him grow and come back, 5-6 years later, he's just an incredible professional, like probably the best I've seen in my time, the way he prepares himself. I read the article about what he's doing at home when he's not at the footy environment. But
temperature-controlled doona.
Yeah. Have you got one of those?
No, I haven't.
If there's one free, if you can get one for free, you'll get one. He's the master of that, Craig. Don't worry about it.
No, that is taking it to a new level.
Yeah, he's having to evolve to play half-back. He hasn't done that over his 334 games. So, but his experience and his leadership are like I haven't seen.
Good luck next Friday. We wish you all the very best. Can't wait to have you in next time you come in for a chat, and we'll continue to do this for as long as you'll have us. Thanks for coming in today. It's been a heap of fun.
Thanks, guys.
Good on you, Craig.
Have we passed the first probationary test? We get the thumbs
didn't
up?
say yes or no. They're not,
what do you want me to say?
Well, he's got to think about it.
Whatever you do, don't say good question. It's a quarter of 5. Craig McRae, the Collingwood coach, joining us in the studio.
I still have got this, maybe because you were in our studio last week and we feel like we've bonded with you. You're one of ours. So when we saw...
We're one of yours. Yeah.
Hey?
Yeah, go on, keep going.
Well, when I saw you post-game, sometimes you can just look at an individual's face and you see the joy. Now, obviously that comes from the win and the excitement, but there was pure joy that was exuding from you. How was the moment for you? Was it more relief, or were you able to actually share in that joy?
Yeah, there was genuine excitement, I must admit. Brendan Bolton gave me some great advice leading into the week. He said, look, one thing that maybe I regret or I could do better was, just enjoy every minute of this, because you only really get one go at being, first-time coach of an AFL team, and particularly Collingwood, what a great club to be a part of. I just want to take all of it in, and then to see the fans. I can't tell you, and I've got to apologise to Abby Holmes. When I came out in the ground to get the interview, I couldn't hear a word she was saying. It was so loud. So I just made up some answer to her question. So if you're listening, Abby, I apologise. But like the crowd, to have the crowds back. We've as a club, we've spoken about to our players about trying to connect back with our community and what things we can do. And in particular, one of them is really acknowledging our supporters who've done it tough for a couple of years. To have those, the fans back and then put a smile on their face. I thought that was one of those moments I won't forget.
Do you think it rubs off on the players in a positive way when they see their coach enjoying their success with them? They're all in this together, and we're not going to be dour and immediately think about next week. We are going to allow ourselves to have a moment where we go, you know what, job well done. Let's enjoy it for a second.
Yeah, look, I've actually openly told the playing group to hold me to account, to smell the roses more. I think it's one of my strengths and weaknesses that I can move on really quickly, and maybe it's the Leigh Matthews in me that we're always trying to get better. And so these moments, to be able to live in the moment, I want our players to do that. I want us to revel in that. We've had some tough times, and then enjoy the good times, but also. I'm really strong on that. If you come into our environment on a Monday, that you wouldn't know if we won or lost.
Perfect.
That's really important.
Love
That's
it.
really important message I got across early. And So we're ready to get back to work, and anyone that was in our environment on Monday, you'd see that the players are getting back and getting busy to get better. So enjoy the moment a little bit more is something that I'm going to have to practice myself.
It is, but it's hard, and I think your instincts are there. Certainly when I was coaching, your instincts are there more for the players. I found that there was this overwhelming burden of responsibility that I need to provide them with the guidance, the system, and the environment for them to succeed. So it was it's sometimes hard as a coach, I found, to enjoy it.
Yeah, it is.
And just say, hey, this is a moment to enjoy, but it's almost like you win that and it's so fleeting and you go, well, hang on, now there's next week. Now we've got to be able to do this again. How have you put in place any mechanisms outside of telling your players to hold you accountable? What are the mechanisms that you put in place to ensure that you do enjoy that moment and it is fun?
Yeah, look, I'm a bit old school in terms of, let's just get on with it. But I think that letting the players just have that sense of, like, just do what you think's right. Revel in it. And I know on the weekend we're really determined to stay on the ground a little bit longer, and that could be seen as being over-celebrating. But because of the last 2 years, the things I've mentioned,
of course,
we wanted to show our fans, and we spoke about it openly, what can we do? And one of those things was, let's stay on the ground a couple of minutes longer to make sure our fans, we can show gratitude towards them.
So we're not trying to get you to pick a fight with Kane Cornes.
No, not at all.
Right. No.
But I'm sure somewhere there's a balance, and clearly you don't think that was tipped.
Oh, look, we're in the business of getting better and the business of acting like winners. That's something that we're openly talking about inside our four walls. I must admit, my wife is the best filter ever for this stuff. Mm-hmm. And I just said to her, what do you think? Do I need to say something? And she goes, Craig, that's old school thinking. And I look, I'm maybe an old school thinker myself, but she's such a good filter for that. And look, I didn't give Jack any feedback at all. I've left that alone. I'm not going to comment about Kane's comments. That he's paid to have an opinion. I'd like to think that we're going to constantly just behave like winners as much as we can, and any time we act like losers, we'll be addressing that within our four walls as well.
But are you fearful, like with Kane's comments, about providing ammunition for your opponents? Now, I never felt that way ever as a player or even as a coach, that was really all that relevant. But, I mean, clearly others would have a different view.
Yeah, I'll never forget when Leigh Matthews told this story to us about, I think it might have been Martin Pike said some things to someone else in the opposition, and I've never felt so scared when Leigh looked at us and he goes, you never think we're going to play those guys again? Yeah. And, I learned a good lesson that day. But I think times have changed, though, Gazy. We need to enjoy the moments. There's a lot of things that aren't going well in our lives, and why wouldn't we revel in when it is?
So how different are these guys, Craig? I mean, this kid, you're 48 now, and this kid's, what is he, 19?
Yeah.
And we keep getting told, music at the grounds, the old blokes can have a blue about whether it's too loud and too noisy and all the rest of it. But how different are those 18, 19, 20-year-olds that you're coaching as opposed to the ones that you used to be and share locker rooms with?
Well, I know I got told off for smiling on the bus going to a game the day before once by one of my former coaches. So things have changed.
For smiling on a bus?
He said, I knew you were going to play bad when I saw you smiling the day before.
No.
We've changed a fair bit, haven't we? Like, I just want the players to be themselves as much as they can. If young Jack's finding out, or whoever it is, finding out what it takes to be an AFL footballer amongst all sorts of things, and finding out what he's most comfortable with, if he's happy before a game, be happy. If he needs to be sit in the corner and listen to music to motivate him, let's allow the players to be themselves, and ultimately they'll express the best version of themselves on the field. Did
they execute, close to what you want them? Did they execute perfectly the type of play that you wanted them to execute against the Saints the other night?
We're not looking for perfection, to be honest, but certainly to the level of what we displayed in 4 months of a pre-season with that opposition, there's a lot of things that we've been working on, you could see, and hopefully our fans could recognise those things. I told the players this long-winded story before the game about my little girl starting school, and she's got this fascination with maths, and she's got about 6 or 7, 8 things she's throwing at me as we're dropping her at school, and one of the mostly right, but one of them then was like, Dad, 10 plus 9 is 12. And I couldn't have the heart to tell her it was wrong. I just wanted to concentrate on all the good that she'd done. So I shared this story to the players and before the game, and then I said, it's okay. 10 plus 9 is 12. We're okay to get some wrong. As long as we celebrate all the ones we do get right. That was the message. Anyway, I got to 3/4 time. I said, hey, boys, 10 plus 9 is 12. We're okay here. Just take a breath.
That is great.
Yeah, so
That's great.
That is.
just allowing the players to be okay with, not trying to be perfect and understand that we're going to get some things wrong. It's not what we get wrong, it's what we do next. And because, you look across the rounds and everybody's going to make mistakes, and we're not deliberately trying to miss goals or drop marks, but it's what you do next is important.
What did you make of the Luke Beveridge post-game response with the interchange with a reporter?
Jeez, you're asking me to have an opinion on that.
No. But is it... Well, it is tough for you to answer, isn't it?
It's done, isn't it? Like we're...
No, but do you look at that as a learning experience for you?
Yeah, well, I hadn't coached a game, so...
But,
I must admit, I want to go to press conferences and be myself. I think there's a level of... I want to see my personality. I want to show respect to the opposition. I want to... I'm trying to form my own brand, if you like, and, I like to, even the press conferences I'm having with the media people that come to our environment of training, I want to actually build a relationship of trust.
Yeah.
And it's a real difficult thing to do in this industry because I know every second person is going to judge me or judge us, and you were going to feel like you want to protect that at times. But I'm just trying to do it my way and not anyone else's way.
Do you, with that, are you on social media and do you...
Oh, I've got no idea, mate. I'm on Twitter, but I really know what I'm doing. And Instagram, I've got thousands of people requesting to what did they do? And I don't even know what to do. So
follow you.
Follow
they
you.
want to
There
follow
you
you.
Well, why would you follow me? I don't do anything.
Well, because you're a man that you're asking people to follow you now. You're a coach of it. You want people to follow you.
Yeah, no, I don't. I really don't know what to do on Instagram. So if you're out there, don't follow Flybags or wherever he is because he won't get back to you, and it's not a personal thing.
Well, because there are a lot that really want to offer advice along the journey, and sometimes that advice it can be a distraction to some. We all know. And do you have that conversation with your players about a policy about the impacts it can have? We've seen, and it's pretty well documented these days. It can be very, very damaging. Yeah,
look at this. That's why we want to celebrate the things that we're doing well and revel in that a little bit. I think the world we're living in, there is a lot of negativity in society, isn't there?
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I'd like to live in a grateful space and appreciate what we have. And I know this job is judgment. It is. Yes. It's constantly judgment, good and bad. And you've got to be able to take that to sit in the chair. And you don't sign up if you're not ready to do it. So, but. I think appreciating what you have is a good way to go about it.
Mason Cox is in doubt this week with an ankle injury, I believe. And does that open up some opportunity? Is he out or have you made a decision?
No, he's got to train tomorrow.
Right.
An opportunity to train. He's not out officially yet. He's in some doubt. There's no doubt in that. Look, I must admit, I thought on first thought with Mason, his game, I thought he was down on what he could do in terms of his role. And then I hear the injuries that he's suffered throughout the game. I go, oh God, he's actually done well to stay out there, and particularly in the last quarter to have some impact in the game, and certainly some areas that we really value. So, he's one that's in doubt this week, and we've got a couple of options potentially he doesn't play.
And whenever you bring new talent into the squad, I assume there's always how do you fit them in, how are they going to go? But Pat Lipinski. Looking at him, he looks like super elite. Now, maybe it was just one of those games. And I'm watching this game, and I'm watching it, and I'm thinking, how would another club not find a spot for him?
Yeah, look, he's come into our environment. He's just a ripping kid. Like he just gets to work. He's just a really well-spoken, respectful young lad that's fitting really well. But one thing that he brings to the table is he's got elite running capability. And those players can really change your dynamic. And he's certainly done that with our midfield. He hasn't missed a beat. I heard himself in an Amy series game against GWS, hurt his ankle, and we quickly realised how important he is to our midfield depth and running capability. got really sharp hands. Yeah, it's round one, Gazy. We don't want to get carried
No,
away.
no.
But what we've seen is it's
I hear you. That's why
nice,
I was
isn't it?
asking the question whether you saw and were as suitably excited as not even a Collingwood fan as I was watching this and saying and trying to assess it and see how are you the master coach that's hit the right button or were there issues?
What I've seen previously in my times too, it happened at Brisbane when Craig Bolton couldn't get a game with us in Brisbane. Went to Sydney, he ended up the captain of Sydney.
Yeah.
So I saw it with Dan Butler at Richmond. Guys that just sort of miss out on opportunities, but are really good players in their own right, waiting for opportunity. And Pat's certainly starved of opportunity, or looking for more, if you like, and he's going to get that with us.
Nice.
Fresh eyes on established players. It's a great opportunity for footballers who maybe haven't reached a position at one club to find it at another. And hopefully Pat Lipinski is going to play a lot of top-level footy for you. Hey, mate, good luck on Saturday afternoon.
Yes.
We'll be there watching it and having a call of it against the Adelaide Crows. Been a joy to have you on the show again,
guys.
mate. Thanks.
Next time,
Thanks for
maybe in the
coming on.
studio, it'd be good to see you, Gazy.
I'll have cleared the protocols, Coach, so I'll be in next week.
Lovely to see you, mate. Thanks for coming in.
Yeah, thanks, Andy. Gazy,
I,
good to be here.
I know it's midweek and you've put last week behind you and you've started looking forward, so I acknowledge that. But how do you review that game? It was an unbelievable game of footy for us to watch, the non-Lions.
Yeah.
When you go back and you sit down and you crunch it, how do you walk your way through that game?
Oh, well, there's a lot of positives to take out of it. That's the first thing we looked at. We reflect heavily. I know the first loss is hard, Gazy.
It is very hard.
Oh, boy.
You'll never forget it. That's the unfortunate thing.
No, Leigh rang me just before round one, and he actually said that you'll never experience what it's like to lose a game as a coach. There's nothing like it because I don't know, just the level of care and you take on board everything. And yeah, it is. It's really. How'd you go with it all?
No, I didn't handle it well. I put my hand on my heart, and it's probably one of the reasons I'm sitting here right now is because the inability to really because.
Why was it so hard?
Well, it's the sense of responsibility and ownership that you take for every single individual play. You overburden yourself, sometimes wrongly, and that's what you get the advice and say, mate, you control the controllables, all the famous motherhood cliches, motherhood statements, that type of thing. But you can't, and I found that it was very, very difficult. And particularly, and I don't want to put the knife in even further, but particularly when it's a game where probably 9 times out of 10 you're going to win.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, no, I'm tossing and turning all the what ifs, what didn't take that out
If
of bounds
only.
and if only, yeah. But quickly you learn that you're looking for solutions. And when wake up with that much sleep on Sunday morning and then you get into the tape and then you go, okay, we do this better. Look at this little improvement area. And then you start to think solutions. And, I wanted to make it pretty clear that you walk into our environment, you didn't know if we won or lost.
Yeah.
We've been saying that all along. So, we just got to get back to work. And, the positive approach to it is the way we've attacked it.
When you're at three-quarter time, you're 30 points up and you're feeling in a really good position, when you see it being eroded, how did the mind...
so quickly too, guys.
But we'll talk about momentum in footy in a moment. Yeah.
But did you feel, as you reflect on your own performance, that you rationalised it in the right way?
Oh, look, we knew what was coming. Like we got Scott Selwood is in our box, and he played at Geelong, and he knows everything that's coming. And so we prepared the players as best we could for that. And then it's just a matter of execution, and then trying to then stem momentum as it comes. It's such a wave at the moment, and the way that ball was just moving, it's just hard to stop things. And we've reflected all week on all the little things that we can do better within that. There's little moments of control that we lost, and maybe some plans in place that we didn't execute that we would like to do further down the track.
You wanted to ask about the soft cap as well?
I did. Well, Jeff Brown, your president, he came out and made some comments just in regards to the soft cap and how, because of the pandemic and everyone had to tighten the purse strings a little bit, you've gone from basically close to 10 million bucks.
9.7 down to 6.5 million.
So it's a big chunk of money, and he's actually... Well, in the paper yesterday, it was reported that he's made comments to say, well, this is really hurting the welfare of the staff and the players because you've lost these experts that you can bring in. Do you find that as well? Are you really missing that portion of it? And do you think it's putting the health and safety of the players in jeopardy?
Yeah, look, I've the COVID period has been a big cut for all clubs, and being an assistant coach for a long time, the workload just doubled last year. I felt and the Coaches Association did a survey at the end of the year, and there's a huge percentage of coaches that weren't happy and not mentally well. I suppose that's probably a bit extreme, but struggling with the workload and satisfaction in the industry. So that is real. I worked with Clarko last year, and Clarko, rightly so, was well paid because he's one of the best coaches in the game, if not the best. And then so there was a cost for that. We didn't have many assistant coaches, so the load went back onto us. And then obviously there's a flow-on effect to the players potentially for time spent with them. I get to Collingwood this year, and clearly a rookie coach wage allows us to put on we've got about 8 or 9 coaches. So then our players have more player to coach ratio at a number where they can, and we've got a list that requires this. We're a young developing group that need the fundamental of the games coached and taught well. So we need the resources to do that. So not every club's doing that though. Not every club has 8 or 9 coaches. Whether that's the right number, I'm not sure. It's not a number thing, but it's there is a cost across the competition in the last couple of years from these cuts.
So we're just having a chat before we get to the break. In the last ad break, about you're conscious of you've been there and you felt the load and being submerged by the amount of work that's in front of you as an assistant coach. Is that something that you're conscious about with your staff and the people you're working with?
Yeah, very much so. Those sitting in the vice president's chair, if you like, for a long time, you see a lot of things and you go, oh, we'll just keep, like Clarko would love to have a match committee. Here's a story for you. Right. About my third week, he said, we'll have a Zoom match committee at 8 o'clock. And I thought, is that 8 a.m.? He goes, no, p.m. And I said, I got my pajamas on at 8 p.m. I said, I literally rocked up in my pajamas for a Zoom meeting, and I started just to nod off.
That's not a good one.
I go to bed at 9 o'clock most nights. But that was his. So I'm never ever going to have a match committee at late. And those little things you learn along the way that you liked or didn't like. I'm just making sure that our staff have energy and allow time to have energy in the family and things. So we allow the staff to drop the kids off once a week or pick them up and things like that. Just those little things.
It's coming together from some of our supporters after the last comment by Craig, and this comes from 530. It all makes sense now. I think the Cats' comeback last Friday night was around about 9 p.m, which coincided.
I was in my pajamas too. If you looked under the desk, I had my pajamas on.
Slippers on, ready to go. Maybe you should ask the AFL for no more night games for Collingwood. So, Jack Ginnivan, I've got to say it. I love it when a young kid backs himself and comes out and plays bold, aggressive, free-spirited footy. I love it. And I imagine Collingwood supporters would be gravitating to this kid. But he has been the cause of some conversation by one bloke around here. Cornesy's sort of had a bit to say. Where do you sit on the let the kid be the kid and express himself and all of that, but also caution him against putting yourself up there to be knocked over?
We're trying to act like winners. That's been our mantra from day one. When I started, we're going to act like winners, and even when the scoreboard doesn't say we are.
Yep.
So there's some behaviours that we want to do, and we're trying to live that out, and we're not going to get it right every time, but we want to reward those behaviours, and hopefully the fans see that even on the weekend. We didn't get the result, but we'd like to think that we carried on and conduct ourselves that way. I think there's always a fine line with this. Andy, I reckon, the more I say about it glorifies comments.
Oh, no, I'm not yet.
But then also we want to make sure the player knows that I've got his back and I'm there for him. So that's a real delicate balance. Privately, I'm making sure that Jack knows that we support him 100%.
Is he the type of personality that it'll be water off a duck's back to him? Is he the sort of kid that'll go, don't worry about it, catch on, fine, I've got this under control, don't worry about me?
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I I'm sort of every day is a different colour hair. So
Right. Who's that
Does
bloke?
that-
Who's the
that
bloke
doesn't
in number
bother you?
33?
No.
That doesn't bother you, though, does it?
It's interesting, isn't it? Like you get to 48 and you're trying to look younger, and he's dyed his hair grey.
Hang on, you played with a bloke who was doing had a different facial hair and a different colour hair every day of his life.
There's a place for it, isn't there? Like our game wants entertainers. Our game, wants personality. We're in the entertainment business. Aki used to do handstands, and that was him. But Jack's just finding out what it takes to be an AFL player at this level, and we just want him to back him in to be the best person.
What about the mission that you sent him out to do?
There's no mission, mate.
Well,
Come on.
The mission.
Are you agitating me?
No, the mission to win, of course.
Oh,
but then you've also got a mission on how you might deal with certain assignments and certain players. And there was what was it? There was an exchange with him and
Players talk to one another all the time. Yes, and Selwood came together. Yeah.
Is that just something that's in the heat of battle, or is that something orchestrated to try to some type of tactical move?
No tactics involved in that. Look, we just keep coming back to our roles in the system. It's a boring answer for you, mate, but it's just there's no tactics around that.
So when you've said it a couple of times that we want you to be able to walk into our joint on a Monday and not be able to tell whether we won or lost. It was the first one with an L, not a W on it. Did you see that?
Yeah, I was really conscious of it. We spoke about it at match committee as coaches, and I think you'd be able to walk in and see the players really hungry to get better, and there's still, like I said before, losing you be losers, but there's a lot of learning attached to it. But then winning, there's the affirmation. I think there's a lot of affirmation in what we're doing, so we'll get back to make sure that the players see that. But then all the little details of what we can do better, we also showed those.
And you're a good friend of everybody here at the run home. And the last thing we want you to do is get a parking ticket. So we're going to let you go. Thanks for coming in, mate. Good luck this week. Craig McRae, coach of the Collingwood Footy Club, joining us. Great to have him as part of the program. It's 90 minutes to 5. Craig McRae's in the studio, and I don't know whether I'm inviting you and he to have a conversation right now.
No.
But I'm sure he'd be interested to know what you're saying about Jordan De Goey, and he should be going and playing at Essendon next year. I'm sure the Collingwood coach would be interested to hear those comments.
He may be.
Yes.
He may be, but he's going to hear other people talk about that. I'm saying that if I was Essendon, I'd be having a look at somebody like that that's a free agent. That's all. Nothing more malicious or mischievous than that. That's all.
Is there anything you'd like to say to him, Craig, now that you've got the response?
G'day, Craig. How are you, mate? I think you're doing a fine job there. I don't think you need Jordan to go. That's my take with it anyway.
Tim, off you go. This has become a bit awkward. I thought it might be a bit
Not for me at all.
Okay.
I can keep going if you want to talk about it.
Thank you. We'll be watching the news tonight. Thank you.
Okay.
All the best. Bye for now. Craig McRae does join us. Storytime with old mates. Thanks to Mate Internet and Mobile, award-winning Aussie service mobile plans from $20. Good to see you.
Yeah, just dropping grenades. I just got you, and you have to answer that one.
Actually, I was going to ask you about Jordan De Goey, but a completely different matter. Now that you are the senior coach, like whether you're no matter what member of the coaching panel you are, when you've got a key player who is a big free agent out of contract player at the end of the year, you're going to be interested in all that. But if you're one of the assistant coaches, rarely do you get asked about that with the lights on and the cameras rolling, but you will get asked about that a lot this year.
I find it fascinating how much the broader public just love Jordan De Goey. Well, the media do anyway. Like, I wouldn't go to a press conference without one question about Jordy.
Yeah,
really?
For my time in the job,
there's been some other incidents.
Yeah. Well, obviously within my first week, the accusations or the incident that he was involved in, that was my first week to deal with that. No, but it wouldn't be a week that goes by without a Jordy question.
It's a big week for you. It's a big week for two reasons. One is you've got this unusually long break between games, and more important than that is that you're part of the Anzac Day game. So we'll talk about both. How have you handled the break between the Gabba game and the game on Monday?
Yeah, you're right. We had 5 days post our West Coast game, and then straight into Brisbane at the Gabba, which is always a hard task to go up there and play against them at the minute in particular. And now we've got 12 days into Anzac Day, so it's been a delicate balance. We've sort of get out of one game into the next without reviewing much, and then all of a sudden now we've got all this time to prepare, and we're trying to really go back in time, if you like, and show the respect towards the Anzac spirit and what that looks like, and making sure we do that justice and be grateful for the opportunity to play at this day. And then also we're trying to prepare for a game and just not get too overawed by it. It's a great balance.
For the game, do you draw on the Anzac spirit and reflect on not just a football game, but what Anzac Day is all about?
Oh, look, I think we just have to. Like, I think we have a privilege of being able to play on this occasion. I caught up with Mick Malthouse about 4 weeks ago now, and we're just having a general chat, and his passion and spirit. I remember I was there for 12 months under Mick at Collingwood, and the way he delivered the game, and we started to tell some stories, and I left the conversation, and I texted him later. I said, "You wouldn't mind talking to the group, would you?" Like, and funnily enough, he hasn't been back since he left, but he said he'd be honoured to. So he's going to speak to the players tomorrow.
That's great.
Yeah, just about. He's got so many stories to tell. I'm interested to see which one he's going to share, but just the significance of the day and the meaning of the day, not only for football but for our country, and then we join the dots then about how do we respect that.
So you've left the sheet pretty much blank for him. Just here's the time the boys will be sitting down. We're in the lecture. Come and whatever you want to do.
Yeah, and I know. Mick's got 1,000 stories he can tell, and he'll find the one that resonates with him the most. I assume, but yeah, we want to draw on that, and then as the week folds, bring those little stories along with us and theme the week to go out and not only do the Anzacs proud, but also our jumper proud.
And this is the first time he's come back into the club, would it be?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, I think so.
So that's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a great thing that. I mean, his time at Collingwood was obviously pretty significant.
Well, he's a premiership coach.
Correct.
And, he's coached 700 games, and look, I think it's important at our footy club that everybody that's had significance to where it is now is appreciated, and Mick is certainly one of those.
Is that something you're kind of broadly conscious of?
Yeah, without giving too much away of our big theme for the year, but it's certainly honouring the jumper is part of that, and all those that have worn it and been part of it to get this club in to where it is. So it's an important part of our history.
So how does that feed, that theme, how does that feed into your Anzac Day stuff?
I brought this in. I'm not a great reader, but I've got my glasses on.
Make sure you take those with you today.
Listeners at home.
Jeez, when you put the glasses on, okay, it was uncanny. You look like Terry Danaher.
Yeah, right. Is that a good thing?
That's a great thing. What can you see that, or is it just it's Terry
I can
Danaher?
see it. I think the hair too.
It's very T Danaher.
Okay. Well, I can
anyway,
see
sorry about that. I just got completely shocked.
Yeah. No, what I've got here in front of me is just something that we're going to allude to in the lead up to the game is past servicemen, but also past Collingwood players, and there's many, but Dan Minogue I've got here in front of me. Dan Minogue in 2011 debuted for Collingwood. He actually played a grand final in 1911 he broke his collarbone and played it the whole game.
Yeah.
I don't see that happening too often these days. But then he went on to captain Collingwood in 1914 at the age of 22. But then went on to go and be a serviceman at the war, and he survived the war, come back and ended up playing 84 games.
Yeah.
But through those times, he come back and Dan Minogue actually went on to coach 5 other clubs.
Yeah.
Incredible
Unbelievable history in footy.
But there's many of these stories that we want to tap into and just acknowledge. And if we're talking about not only the country that we're living in, thanks to many that have previously been part of it and given us these opportunities, but the players too, the stories of that. So that's a small part of the stories that we're going to continue.
Do you reckon this is the first time you've been in this, and others that you've worked with and who have been in the game and been through Anzac Day, like the Sheedies of the world, they clearly have a deep understanding of what they can pass on to the players and what the players will take from it. Do you get a sense that the players, the young fellas, war and service and all that sort of stuff, a very foreign concept to them? Do you get a sense that there is an appetite to know these stories from your group?
Well, it's interesting, isn't it? Because I think we do it quite well. I do. We're not America. You go to America and it seems like every second day there's an acknowledgement for this, and whether that's good or bad, I'm not here to argue that. But I think on this day in particular, we do it extremely well, and we have a privilege to play on this day.
Yep.
And I think it's important to acknowledge that.
Are you excited about it?
Yeah, I'm so excited.
Yeah.
Geez, I can't keep me still.
Yes.
It's probably the most exciting, and this is the challenge. Is if I'm feeling this, we've got younger players that haven't played on this day, and so to get the balance right is really important. And,
You can't treat it like you can, but I suspect it is difficult just to take the approach that this is just another round, another game, because it is not.
It's not, and it's like a grand final. It's not another game. They are, and having been part of those games, you realise you still got a ball that needs to be bounced and kick goals, and so the ability to embrace it all and then keep the noise external, and then be in the process. That's the challenge, and that's what we'll be coaching.
Can I ask you about the De Goey situation? This was the De Goey stuff I wanted to talk to you about. As it kicks that goal and you get within a couple, and it turns out that there's 5 minutes of game time left after he kicked that goal. He seems to take himself off the ground. He looked over and said, I need, and he might have had a mild sort of cramp type. Was there did you hang on? No, get him back out there. Geordie, what are you doing? How were you handling that at the time?
I'm coaching from the bench this week in particular, and Geordie comes up, kicks a great goal.
Yep.
He's exhausted.
Yep.
It was not a rotation. He took himself. I find it fascinating that the senior coach gets criticised for a lot of things. I got criticised for that. I'm going, hang on a minute, he's cramping. He come off. He said, I just need a spell. I'll just get my breath back. I'm right to go. I go, no worries. I'm patting him on the back, and I'm getting criticised. But that, in the nature of the game, there's a lot of little things that are out of your control. And Geordie, had an outstanding last quarter. Get your breath back, because we need to get you back on there quickly.
Yeah.
Does that change the result of the game?
Who knows, right?
Well, is there ways, though, in those circumstances when you got to catch your breath, there's ways that you can do that without taking him off? Because sometimes you get caught up, and we hear regularly, gee, these blokes have been trying to been 6 minutes, 7 minutes, the ball hasn't come over there. Strategically, is there other ways you can build something into that?
Oh, well, look, when a player is not part of a rotation, runs off, you'd think they probably need a break.
Right,
they?
that's true.
Yeah.
And that was that situation in particular. There's been other scenarios where we've got guys off the ground, can't get him back on, and then you get really stressed and go, well, come on, let's just get this guy. I don't care what it is, get him off, get him on.
Yeah.
You're a bit more urgent with those ones.
Everyone's talking about this, the arms out and the dissent in the 50s. And how did you observe what took place on the weekend and conversation, Brad Scott yesterday? What did you make of it all?
This come across our desk a couple of weeks ago. Actually, we get the umpires out in their main training session every week, and they umpire our match play and things. And it's been really handy for us because some of those agenda items come really early. So we had an umpire speak to us 2 weeks prior, saying they're going to really tighten the screws on this remonstrating. So we showed some footage of it to our main group, and fingers crossed, we've been pretty good at it. But I think there's some grey in it because, I watched the Tom Mitchell one, and I was at the game live, and I'm behind the goals. I could see what I thought was Frost putting his hands out. I thought, geez, they're going to get 50 for that. He's putting his hands out. But then it was down the field when you see the replay. And I've studied body language, Gazy. I know what body language looks like,
Absolutely.
I'm coming at it. Whereas I saw Tom with his hands out, like
a normal conversation. Respectful.
So I thought, there's got to be some common ground given on this. Like that looked like a conversation as opposed to remonstrate.
Yeah.
But I think for me, we're heading in the right direction. I reckon, you look across junior sport, the way we want the game, more umpires in the game. I think if you look bigger picture, the way we abuse umpires as fans, I think that's.
But Craig,
it's part of the culture.
Here's the thing. It's to me, yes, there's a problem with officials getting the umpires, and at the lower levels, everyone that calls up says it's
Clearly
disgraceful. There are issues there that are turning umpires away. But at the AFL level, now maybe I'm missing something, but I haven't seen any over the last few years anything alarming. In fact, if I compare it to my game, which I love so much, the NBL, I think that we have a far more significant problem than you guys have. And it seems like they're trying to correct a problem that it's a lower level that doesn't exist at the higher level. Now, would that be fair? Like to me, I don't think that the player dissent issue for some time has stuck out. If anyone's abusing any sort of bad language, they give you 50. It seemed like they had a good handle on it.
Yeah.
Is that your perception as well?
Well, funnily, because maybe that's the case, but when you see it now and you go and there's all these players with their hands up, it actually is visually intimidating. I didn't realise until you draw your attention to someone going, oh, right, there's 7 players just coming out with your hands up. So I can visually see what they're trying to rid of the game. What it equates to, I don't even know. This may not be the right way of going about it, but it's a way of trying to improve it. Is it right for now? I'm not sure. But I think we're heading in the right direction, I think, in terms of respecting the umpires.
You go on.
I wanted to ask you a question. I don't know if you've been reading this story that's been going around about players and the data that's collected from them with the GPS data. Well, firstly, how much weight do you put? You've got the science, sports science into the game these days. How much weight do you put into that data that has been accumulated throughout the games?
Significant. Yeah, we do. Yeah. Do you want me to elaborate? Or?
Well, it's interesting because, well,
I think he's got a follow-up here. So
Well-
I'm hearing a follow-up.
well, there's the story going on now about that data, who owns it, how's it's going to be used, player personal privacy, and they're raising some real arguments in the world that we live in these days about how it is. But the reason I'm curious about it is to know, well, how significant an issue is it if the data and how that data is being used? Do you base someone's training routine on what's happened in a game just because of the data, or how significant?
Well, I've been at a couple of clubs now, and all have been different. But I have been at clubs where they wouldn't pick players based on their GPS.
Right.
Jeez.
So selection. I'm going. So you're not playing this guy because his GPS is not.
And he says he's good to go. But, no, your data here. I'm good to go, coach. Oh, no. But the data here and from this little device.
Is it based on...
No, well, I'm not going to. Well, there's a young player that's a significant player in the competition right now that wasn't getting a game because his GPS wasn't at a level that they thought could compete at AFL level.
Yeah, right.
And I'm going, well, you've got to get in there to show it and the impact. So there's always a level of, the information, and then go, hang a minute, have you seen this guy at the moment? He's ready to play. So, look, I'm not at that level.
Right.
But I think we use the data as information for ourselves to go, I'll use an example. We played Geelong a few weeks ago, and our GPS for the first half was like off the charts. And and then you wonder why you're not quite finishing off executing games, and you go, well, that's a pretty hard measure to maintain. So you look at little ways of manipulating and improving, or looking after players within the game to keep the energy high.
What is the most important element of that data that you bring? Is it distance? Is it intensity? What is the?
Oh, we use meters per minute. How many meters per minute we're doing, and the speed of that. At our best, I think. Whatever it looks like, and individuals. I think the game's become such a transition game. If you can't run, it's going to be really difficult to maintain to play at this level.
Last one from me before we let you go. I know it might not have even crossed your
Great
desk.
question, by the way, guys.
It's probably deserving of a longer.
There's a lot more I'd like to
There's
get
more
into.
to that,
It's
because
pretty dry for the
disappointing.
fans, but as a coach, there's a lot of issues in
I'm
play.
going to ask you one last. Can you say good question, Andy? I don't know whether it crossed your desk or
Nice
not.
to ask one.
How did you feel about the PI? Being taken out of Mason Cox after the weekend?
Look,
Good question, Andy.
Yeah, no. I have a responsibility as a coach to make sure that our players are cared for.
Yep.
And we're all in this industry. We're open slather. You get judged for rotating a guy when he didn't get rotated. Where I'm coming from. So
I do.
this is something that I'm really conscious of. I've caught up with Mason today, had a coffee with him, and I just want to make sure he's okay.
Yep.
We spoke, just openly about what he's needed to be at his best, and he's got an obligation to go back and improve that part of his game. What we've talked about, I'll keep that between us. But not only Mason, but all our players. We've got to look after him, don't we?
But he's wearing this because of an issue that he's had with his eyes, and whether the form that he's producing is one thing, but whether he's open slather for the Mickey to be taken out of him because he's trying to do something to get him on the ground. Is he okay? Like, he's an unusual character and he's a great fella. We all like him.
Yeah.
Is that cutting him at all, or is he okay?
No, I think he's okay.
Yeah, good.
And I'm going to say that with my heart. Also be conscious of that he is human.
Yeah, good.
Yeah. So, but we this is funny thing about confidence, isn't it? Like I hate the word confidence because when I was coaching the development, I'll just go back to the VFL and get some confidence. I said, well, I say they're not selling it down there. It's not in the water. Oh, you got to come back and get it because it's just down there. I hate it. I hate that word. So, so it's about like for Mason at his best, he is jumping at the ball and he's marking the ball, and he's clearly not doing that at the moment. So he's got to go find some confidence. To do that, whether it's at training or VFL, wherever that looks like in the future. But I know at his best, he goes and works on that. And the story I told with him today, without giving too much away, is when he arrived in Melbourne, everybody else was on leave. He's never played AFL footy. And I had my office right near the gym. He was pulling these weights, 50, 100 kilo weights up and down this sled running track, hour after hour to improve, and he was working on his game like I'd never seen. And I just remind him of that.
Get back to that.
Just be that
Yeah,
guy.
yeah,
Yeah, because if he's got that mentality of whatever he's doing and attacking, he'll be okay.
So you've lived through the Anzac Day experience now as a senior coach. You're out there with your players. You live through the silence and the last post and all of that. Before we talk about some of the things within the game, what was the whole pre and game day experience like for you?
Yeah, it'll be something I'll never forget. Like I'm literally 5 metres from the bugler, and I'm just sitting there. Are you serious? Like this is happening, and then I'll never forget also the silence of the crowd, and you can hear like nothing, but you hear a little baby cry or things like that. So living in the moment and being present to that is something really special, and the occasion for the country. I know I spoke about it pre the game, but to be part of that and create our own sort of little story amongst all those things is. Yeah, something I won't forget. I remember, I said to Pendles, "Where do I stand? Like, what are you doing?" He's been there 15 times, and he's next to me, and I said, "Aren't we meant to be arm in arm?" He said, "No, we do that for the national anthem." And then that sung, and he grabbed me around my waist, and then the crowd roared. And he goes, "How good was that?"
Yeah.
It's just things you just don't forget.
Yeah, right.
The hairs in the back of the neck.
Yeah.
And then the whole game itself was an incredible atmosphere. 85,000, whatever it was pretty special day.
And a Strokage, he's played there many a times, but watching that game, and you might have been asking him where to stand then, but then when you told him to go stand in the middle in that start of the last quarter, that was a very impactful move by yourself.
Yeah, well, I won't take the credit for that. Brendan Bolton suggested that about half time, and I waited a 3/4 time to agree to it.
Well, it was a good time nonetheless.
It was. It worked well.
And with that, was there a specific reason? Was it just that what was going on? Why did it take a quarter to have a look at that? And why did Brendan Bolton, what was his main thrust of why that should happen, other than he's a great player and he's got experience in there and stuff?
We were getting beaten around the clearances, particularly centre bounces, and Pendle's obviously got a huge amount of experience there. And but we were in front at half time, and I just said, let's just see how this game, the next 10 minutes unfolds. And funnily enough, we were trying to do it late in the third quarter, but he didn't get on to that position. So, these conversations are constantly happening. Actually, funny out of that game, there was a level of, as coaches, we sort of reviewed and said, and they were sort of waiting for my affirmation for a few of these details. And I said, hey, don't wait for this opportunity. If you see something, you back yourself in. I'm not your dad. I don't have to make the final call on these things.
Would you allow one of your line coaches to make that call without bouncing it off you? Because that seems like a fairly pivotal decision to make.
Yeah, certain little things. They're big things for some people looking at it. But for us in what we're doing, there's so many decisions need to be made around these. Can we rotate this guy now? Just do it. Back yourself in.
But because I find that extraordinary that you are prepared to delegate that much responsibility. But the coordination, if you've got your line coaches and this line coach says one thing and this line coach says something else and you're saying to them, well, back yourself, but can't that lead to conflict? Aren't you the conduit to say, okay, you both got right points, but I'm going to go with him?
Oh, there's a level, and you wouldn't believe the level of detail of the conversations happening. There's a 5-minute conversation in the box that comes down to me to say, what do you want to do? That I'm coaching from the bench the last few weeks. That's happening, and it's just up to me to sometimes say, no, not now, or okay, let's go with that. Those decisions need to be made, but some of these little things, like you go, let's rotate him to half back through the wing. Guys, back yourself in.
Okay, so
we have a lot of discussion all week around these things. This is not something that just happens on the spring of a month.
But Andy, before that, and the decision to come down and coach on the bench, what's motivated that?
I've done it for probably my whole career at the VFL, and being development minded, the impact with the young players, reward the good, and see the game and get decisions. But I've been amazed at how much more decisions can get done and delivered quicker. Like I'd have Pendles next to me on the bench. Hey, get out there, make sure this is happening right now, as opposed to on the phone, through the phone, through the runner, out to a different conversation. It's amazing those little things that have been clunky in the box. You can execute a lot quicker.
You hear this a lot. The young blokes, development coach, the young blokes. You want to get the message to them, and that makes total sense. How much do the old blokes still need a bit of that? How much do they need? A bit of affirmation and a bit of G up and a bit of how much is it easy to overlook them because we think they know everything and they've got it sorted and under control?
I think from the bench in particular, you go into a break and quarter time, half time, and I've already had conversations with these guys. I know what they're thinking. I know what they're feeling. So it's a little bit like, okay, I just spoke to you the last couple of minutes ago, Pendles. You know what we spoke about. Let's make sure we get this done now. So those older guys in particular have a level of I know what to do now.
Yeah. So,
but everybody likes to be told when they're doing something well,
Yeah,
don't they? Or
yeah.
rewarded. And I think if anything, that's something that we like to reinforce in our footy club.
So you've coached your own team, which is really important in terms of you getting, I imagine, the decision making that saw you get the senior job at Collingwood. But everything becomes more important, and the pressure intensifies the higher up the pyramid you go. And this is as tough as it gets in this.
I haven't noticed.
It's as tough as it gets, Craig. You look magnificent, and you're not aging you at all. But how are you coping now with those moments when it is on you? When you're in the box, or there are these 5-minute conversations, and there's 7 or 8 blokes, or 2 or 3, however, and they go, "This is what we think. This is what I think. This is what the numbers are. What do we do?"
Yeah.
How are you going with that moment of acute pressure?
Oh, it's probably the pressure builds from things you can't control. I found in the box that the things that you can't control just give you a level of like anxiety or like one thing I really struggle with is like when something's not quite working and no one's fixing it. I hate that.
Right.
I hate that. And I've got, all right, what are we doing about this? Okay, so then that's the level. All right, I'm getting to work here. Let's fix this right now.
Yeah.
So that those moments just present itself throughout every game that's been played.
And can you do that? Can you? Well, of course, you want to be able to fix those moments in the flow of a game. How hard is it when you've got so many things going on?
Yeah, really difficult. We're getting better at our processes. We review them every week, how the box worked, how the communication of the players work. We do that weekly. Around decision making or emotional control, we go in deep about this stuff. So,
Yeah, right.
And we're improving. If you look at the way we're measuring ourselves, we're getting better at working to it.
How does that get measured? The emotional control aspect of it. Have you got someone who sits in the box every now and again and observes? How do you know?
Yep. Yeah, we have Graham Wright does that, and then we had another external observer come in for 3 weeks just to give some feedback.
Oh, dear.
Yeah. Oh dear.
That can be stressful.
It is.
Do you record the boxes and do you review your own thing? Because I think I did that once or twice, and I said, well,
Never again.
unless there is something really compelling. I don't want to do that ever again.
Why did you not want to do it again before we get Craig's answer?
Because sometimes it for me, I found then I would be trying to act a certain way the next time and not be myself. That's how because I was so not, when you hear yourself or see yourself, you become a lot more conscious of it. Now that was mine. I don't know how you respond to it.
Yeah, I do. I did struggle initially when I used to do this at VFL. I'd get someone record all my meetings, all my pre-games and the like, and I would always analyse myself, my own reflections. Which is my way of doing things. And so I found it really difficult early. I'm going, oh, God, really? I sound like that. Look at my hands, look at my but in the end, I found it great feedback for myself. And I'm constantly wanting to get better in this role, and this is an avenue to do that.
Jack Ginnivan.
He's a fascinating...
He's turning into Andy's circumstance, he would classify him, I think, as a potential superstar and maybe a champion.
Well, he's got potential superstar written all over him, but he's played
10 games.
He's played 10 games, so of course we take that. Take that on board.
You've got this funky criteria
we'll talk about that some other day.
Completely got my head around how he actually classifies as a superstar.
But people will come to the footy to watch this kid play.
Okay, yep. I was halfway through it, Andy.
Okay, right.
Do you want to take over?
Keep going.
Okay. So we've got this guy that's clearly a very, very nice talent, and he just had a couple of beers after the Anzac Day game. Is the issue, and you haven't as I understand, you haven't fined him, just gave him a tap on the shoulder and said, hey, hang on, we've got some rules and regulations here that you breached. Is it the fact that there were the rules and regulations, or is it the fact that there's the science around a couple of beers, which was the more concern for you guys and why you had to just give him a little tap on the shoulder and explain why you're upset?
Yeah, look, this is something that got out, and I'm not sure how it got out, but it did. That Jack did go out after the Anzac game with some mates, and all innocent, nothing untoward about it. But he had a beer or two The reality is that we have. I hate rules, Gazy. I do.
Yeah.
I'm going to say that. I hate rules because you do 63 in a 60 zone, it's speeding. But really, come on, like there's certain, as soon as you start to make really strong rules, all you're doing is just justifying them and having to react to them. So I like clear boundaries, and one clear boundary was that a 6-day break that we don't do this. So. That is a rule. You could argue that's a rule. But I think we approached it well, and I think our leaders dealt with it really well. So I'm not going to go into too many details with that.
Is the rule something that is a player guided rule, or is it coming from you and the coaches? Because it seems a lot of people look at it in isolation, and there's nothing wrong with a couple of beers, but there is something wrong if you've breached a regulation or rule or whatever terminology you want to use that everyone has to live by.
Yeah, and again, the leaders they set these boundaries that we want to work within, and we have certain things about. Like, we want to act like winners all the time, and I've said this before. And the behaviours to be a winner are certain things, and a 6-day break, and he played really well, and credit to him, and. We want to allow our players to live in the moment of that. Surely. But then there's obviously we've got to get back to work and get better and improve and then repeat those behaviours.
So how important has he been for you? Like Jamie Elliott, you haven't had access to, so you've needed someone to be able to hit the scoreboard the way Elliott can. This kid's doing it for you. And I don't think too many, probably 14 or 15 for the season so far, I'm not sure now, but I don't think too many of us had Jack Ginnivan pegged to be a 2-goal-a-game player for you. How important's he been?
Oh, look, he's one of those 10 players each week that we've had individual goal keys that I mentioned at the start. Like he's playing a role and getting on the end of team player. One thing I did say to him, I'm going to probably share something in confidence here.
I love it. Push
here we go.
Out the back.
Nothing grand, but I love it when we kick a goal, it's our goal. And so after the Anzac Day game, I just said to Jack, hey, look, find the balance between the excitement of 84,000 fans. And funnily enough, he never played in front of a crowd last year. He debuted without any crowd.
Of course he didn't.
So he's learning all the emotions of a crowd. How good is this?
Yeah.
So I said, find the balance of celebrating your goals, and well done for executing the skill, but it's our goal. So when we get a goal, celebrate with your teammates.
Yeah.
Okay.
So don't turn out, turn in. Is there something as simple as that from time to time?
Yeah, find the balance of. I'm not saying don't ever do it.
No.
Because the game will get you. And the emotions of whatever it looks like. But I think we want to celebrate. It's our goal. You
want players, and you'll know this. You want your players to be, particularly when they're good players, you want them to be liked by their teammates. And I'm not saying Jack Ginnivan isn't liked by his teammates. I'm not saying that at all. But you want to make sure that you've got players who might be a bit extroverted and like the limelight and like what comes their way, when things are going well. But you want the rest of your mates to be enjoying their success, and that will come, I reckon, more readily if they do what you've suggested that they do. Is that fair?
Yeah, well, I played with Acker.
Well, you did. Yes, you did.
He was an elite player and did handstands after the game and, all sorts of stories that he would try to draw attention to himself. But, but ultimately during the day, he would be a great team player.
Yeah.
Like he wouldn't go outside the rules of what the team needed. And that was always the challenge with Leigh coaching him. Without breaching, how did Leigh go with Acker? Not well.
Well, I think in the history there was some pretty notable examples where they didn't.
He was there in the inside of it all.
I do recall one time he said he was All Australian the year before. He said, "Acker, you better get that jumper out of the frame because it might be the last time you ever get one of those."
Perfect.
Yeah.
Andy,
last one.
Yeah, the last time we were here, and you said you were bringing back Mick Malthouse to the club. Now I don't know whether there was any heartburn or whether that's been resolved. But how was it? And how is that relationship with Mick has now with the club?
I thought it was fantastic. The details of what went into the half an hour that he spoke to our playing group, his recollection of war was unbelievable, the timeline of war, and he just sort of drew on that and a few other little stories around it. But personally, I thought it was a fantastic thing for our footy club to have Mick back in the walls, premiership coach, record number of games coached. And, I just couldn't help but think that was a moment that sort of hopefully will grow from. Mick texted me up. We actually had him in the rooms before the game as well. I told a funny story about him, funnily enough. I wasn't expecting him to be in the room.
What was the story? I want to hear the story.
I don't know if you got enough time.
Yeah,
Go
we
on,
got
go on, Ed.
time.
We'll
Of
make
course
time.
we
We'll
do.
we'll drop ad breaks.
Okay. No,
Hutchie loves that. when you do that.
I'll never forget my year that I was with Mick. It was 2010 and 11. And it was the last game of the year, and Menzel was on fire for the Cats. And he kicked forward at half time, I think, from recollection. He comes in the rooms at half time, and as Mick does, he's sort of scouring, looking for. There he goes, who's on Menzel? And because everyone just went quiet and said, oh, not me. And then he goes, I knew it. That's why we're losing by 6 goals because no one's on Menzel. And then all of a sudden, Alan Tuvey and young Reed puts his hand up and said, yeah, I was on him. And then the 2 guys at the same time, he goes, oh, now we've got 2 on him. And then as he did it, and then I'm trying not to laugh, as he threw up the stats, and the stats go in the air, and they landed on his shoulder, and he started up and back pacing with his stats on his shoulder. And in the background, I just couldn't stop laughing. So I shared this story with Mick in the room.
That would have gone down.
Yeah, it didn't go down so well. He just looked at me, I thought, oh, no.
He didn't see the funny side.
Hey, it's a good old-fashioned Saturday afternoon special at the MCG this week for you. We can't wait taking on the Tigers. That's going to be a game that we'll all be looking forward to. Keep up the good work. Thanks for coming in.
Thanks, guys.
Craig McRae, Collingwood coach at 16 minutes drive.